Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Two World Podcast. I am Barney, and with me is my co-host, and he is
Jacob.
and both of us on either side of the planet now are eagerly looking forward to the end of 2023 and all that lies ahead of us in 2024. I always kind of like this kind of in between time because it's kind of magical because these are technically kind of mundane days, after Christmas and then before New Year's, but there's always kind of something special about these days too. In the past, for sure, it always ended up being like these were days that were like a few snowy days would sneak in at this time, and you would think, oh, this is kind of fun. We've enjoyed some snow and not much to do, and maybe there's some football on, TV or something unusual. And here in Japan, was December 28th was the last real work day for basically everybody. And so now, I even just asked my wife today, what are some of the TV shows that you're looking forward to? Because we always have these different TV shows that pop up this time of the year since the New Year's is such a big deal here. And aside from interesting TV shows, people are getting busy now cleaning their homes and their cars. On the way home, I went past a car wash and it was 7:30 and it was still full. 7:30 at night, still full. People were washing their cars, getting ready to enter the new year nice and clean in a number of ways. But I like the New Year's Eve. I like New Year's Eve especially, and New Year's has a nice feel to it too. But Jacob, how about yourself? How do you feel in this in between time between Christmas and New Year's?
I love it. I look forward to it every year. And then when it comes, it's just really enjoyable. And I'm grateful that our oldest Micah is home from college and that our other two, Aubrey and Hannah, have off from school so that they can get rested up and enjoy the time. We've been able to do a lot of family things together. One thing that's been really special, actually, when we have meals around the table throughout the Advent season, we've had this Advent wreath. And we typically have used it in the past, but this year, Hannah has really gotten excited about it. And we would, in the past, really use it mostly on Sundays. But now, every meal this year, Hannah wanted to light the candles.
Oh,
And so they
yeah.
burned down really small.
Oh, wow.
This candle here is what's left of one that was this long.
Oh boy.
And it
Was
burned.
that the
Yeah,
first
this was
Sunday?
week one. That
I was
week
going to say,
one,
yeah.
and then you know week two is a little bit bigger than week one, and it
So
goes all the way
fun.
up to week. But anyway, I think the cleaning um desire is present here too. I mean, we've been um straightening up around the house, wanting to clean out our cars. So I don't know if that's universal, but I definitely get that, and I I enjoy that as well. I think we're looking forward to celebrating Katie's birthday too, because her birthday is just right after the New Year's, and so it's kind of an extra bonus. And so there are just a lot of nice things with this time of year. And you mentioned shows. Disney Plus has this really interesting thing. I'm a Marvel fan, and so they have
Mhm.
this series, What If, which is a series that they used to have in the comics where they
Uh-huh.
tweak some important element of a well known story, and then it gives a completely different outcome. And so they've been releasing each day leading up to New Year's a new episode, starting with Christmas and going all the way to the New Year's. So it's a brilliant way to do that with the show, because
Uh-huh.
normally you think of either everything drops all at once or then there's a
Mhm.
weekly installment, but this was a Christmas to New Year's thing. And I like that a lot. That's been really fun. Season two of that show, What If. And then I've been going back and watching a show from the 90s that I missed when it first came on the air, and that is Deep Space Nine. I'd heard several people mention how good it was, and I've been going back and really enjoying some episodes of Deep Space Nine. Have you heard of that one before?
I had I have only heard of it as well. And I never knew it was what it was about, but I also have heard too that it was it had was a pretty solid show. So that's interesting that you were able to find a way to see it again or see it
Well,
for the first time. Yeah.
the fascinating thing is in most Star Trek shows, the theme is related to adventure. You know, they're going
Mhm.
out and discovering new civilizations and planets. But Deep Space Nine is a stationary place. They're located by this wormhole, and so people come to them, and it
Ah.
changes the dynamics of the storytelling. And it makes it seem more possible for longer story arcs instead of the more episodic nature of maybe serialized storytelling of the previous Star Treks. That this one is, it seems like it has longer, more deliberate story arcs. So it's one way to look at it anyway. So,
Mhm.
what are some shows that you might catch or that Ayako might catch? Are they any shows that we might know here or?
Yeah, actually, we Yuma and I and Silas actually were we caught the beginning of it, one that we make sure to watch every year, and then we had to have the end of it put on DVR to finish, see how it ends. But we had, the American Ninja Warrior kind of show
Oh, yeah,
that started here in Japan.
really?
And yeah, and it's called Sasuke is what it's called. And actually, some of the people who have been on American Ninja Warrior come here for that event that they have every year. It's always the last Tuesday or Wednesday of the year, and they start off with 100 people, and there are four different stages, and the first two stages are timed. And the first stage is kind of fun because they have famous people who are in it as well, and they also have it like kind of um, graduated. So once you start to get toward the end is when the really good players start to come, and then somewhere in between there's like some singer will show up, or like some TV personality is on there. And then the even the first stage is somewhat challenging, especially at the end. But some people, they just they get on their rolling balls and they just boom right into the water.
Oh,
And then the third stage, there's no time, but it's very challenging. And then the fourth stage is just like 30 seconds, and it's incredibly challenging. I think more often than not, there is no winner
hmm.
um, um, in a year. Last year there were three finalists and none of them could complete it.
Wow.
And yeah, I think it's just seeing these people do these amazing things. I often say, the TV shows that I like are the ones that, might be reality shows, but it's about people who do things that I could never do. And
Ah,
something like this, even something like Project Runway, I really like that one because the clothes that they come up with, I could never in a million years could I dream up some of those outfits and make it look so nice, you know. So that's one show, the Sasuke one show that we always look forward to. And um, the reason we had to put it on DVR is because it's 5 hours long.
oh my goodness.
So
Wow.
I know. So a lot of shows. Sean has a good bunch of jokes about this, who's been on our show a few times, but a lot of shows in the New Year's time are 3 hour specials, 4 hour specials, 6 hour specials. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
Wow.
I think because I think essentially I've read this in a book as well that the TV is treated more like a radio in Japan, where
Ah,
it's something to have on in the background and maybe sit around it for a bit here and there, but not. I mean, I think it's rare for the people or the family who sit through the whole 6 hours of this show, or that show. But yeah, that's one thing that's always fun, and I think that kind of like we have traditional shows that come year by year in the Christmas time, it there's a coziness to when your favorite show or favorite, when that iteration of the you know the next year arrives and you can sit down and watch that show again. Um, the Netflix show Old Enough, in Japanese, it's like my first time helping. That typically always is in the new year. They'll have
Ah,
maybe not maybe just 1 hour for that one, but a few different kids doing. So that's always something that we look forward to because we don't have Netflix, so that's the only time we can watch that one.
that's so fun. Oh, I like that. And I was going to ask about things that are traditional to watch around the New Year's, and you answered it for me just now. I know for us, we really like to watch, well, leading up to Christmas at least, the Home Alone, the first Home Alone movie.
Oh
We
yeah.
really enjoyed that. And then there's a new version of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas that was produced maybe I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. That is really good. We now start watching that every year. And
Mm.
Katie has this show from the 80s that she loved based off of a Dylan Thomas poem called A Child's Christmas in Wales. And
Oh,
every year we watch that as well. And it's just nice to have those go-to shows. When I was a little kid growing up in Pennsylvania, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
oh yeah.
the stop motion,
Yeah,
one would
I
come
know.
on, and that was also a classic. So, there's certain go-to shows. So it's nice to hear that there is something similar in Japan. So,
Mhm.
yeah. What about food or other traditions? Will there be anything unique there that you'll be looking forward to as you go towards the new year?
Yeah, we actually I just when I got home today, I just heard that the mochi is ready. The glutinous rice that they pound into flat cakes. So these are, we call them rice cakes, and of course, but my very first kind of notion of what a rice cake was like those circles of like kind of puffed rice
Oh,
that were
yes.
pressed together and taste like air. but yeah, but these are kind of like it's a traditional way to make it, and then in the case of people these days, they have a machine that makes it together. It's kind of like the American equivalent of a bagel. So like a bagel,
Ah,
it's like four slices of bread,
yes.
basically, and this one little square of mochi is like I think it's like a cup or 2 cups of like 2 bowls of rice, essentially,
Ah,
and a lot of the food that we have is because up until recently, I think even when I first came to Japan, this was still the case. Most shops, especially supermarkets, were closed. Maybe December 30, 31, 1 and 2. And so you needed to have food that would last you. So these rice cakes are one thing. You can toast them, you can fry them, if you're patient enough. And then there's a traditional soup that they have in the new year, and like each element of the soup kind of has a different meaning. And then they put the rice cakes in the soup, and this is something that I don't look forward to because I love the rice cakes when they're grilled, and I take the time here to grill them up just to perfection. And my wife and kids, they prefer the microwave route, which they want them right now. And I just say, give me 8 or 9 minutes, and mine's going to be way better than yours. But you know, but when you put it in a soup, it starts to dissolve, and then it like gets a
oh,
little bit thick. And for me, it just I'm not. I'm just. It's just that I'm not used to it. Everybody else, I mean, like I watch Ayoko's folks, and they love them, and her and her siblings love them too. But and her sister love the rice cakes in the soup as well. But that is the hard part for me. But yeah, there's a lot of other traditional foods that are like little tiny foods that go together, and then people have that on the first of the year.
that's really nice. I would love to try that sometime. I don't know how one could. Do you think that there's any place to get them here in the States? What, Cleveland or Columbus, maybe?
Yeah, I bet that it probably is expanding a bit. from for the past few years, California has been growing the same type of rice as what we have in Japan. And so I think that as Japanese food is getting more and more popular in different forms of Japanese food in the US, I bet it wouldn't be so hard to find these mochi cakes, these rice cakes. Um, and I wonder if I know my parents always talked about a Japanese restaurant in Wadsworth, maybe. And I wonder if for the new year, maybe they have a special menu um, that they would have available. I wonder, but um, otherwise, if you come again, I can make sure that my wife's mom
Yay.
can prepare it for you. Yeah,
Sounds amazing. I would love that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I know one of the staples when I was growing up, and we've done this some too in our as we've raised our kids, but was the sparkling grape juice or sparkling,
Oh yeah.
apple juice. And uh, did you have any of that growing up for New Year's?
Yes, that
Okay.
was so much fun. Um, we would have like cocktail wieners with like barbecue sauce and like other little sometimes like shrimp cocktails and then of course like you say the sparkling grape juice things those little New Year's parties with me and my parents those were so much fun. How did it manifest in your case?
Well, my parents were definitely more on the night owl side of things. So they would stay up to watch the ball drop, and I would stay up with them. And just very similar to what you described in terms of the foods. Yes, shrimp cocktail, sparkling juice, sometimes cheese and crackers, or different nice cheese and different
Mm-hmm.
snacks. In our family, most of us typically go to bed pretty early, so it's hard to stay up that late. I still would like to do it if I could get somebody to do it with me. But I bet Micah would probably
Mm-hmm.
if I was really wanting to. But probably we would still do something special, by like 9 o'clock, have little snacks or something. But then yeah, we don't really make it to the midnight. But I love the tradition that when people
Mm.
do, and the song will then sign,
Oh
playing,
yeah.
when the new
Mm-hmm.
year comes. I love that song.
Mm-hmm.
So oh, is there anything equivalent to the ball dropping in the context there in Japan?
That's the weirdest thing. It is usually an afterthought. Um,
Oh.
yeah, like we have this traditional um uh music um competition, I guess, that's on one show, kind of like the PBS for the Japanese version of PBS here, and um that one ends at 11:45 and then they go to the news. And then there's another show that they actually stopped recently. That was one of the 6 hour specials, and that one was where the a set of four comedians are in different situations, and they are not allowed to laugh. And then if they get laughed, they get actually they get spanked with like very various materials. But that one too, like I know, and it's actually a very fun show. I really liked it. Some of it was very very funny. Um, but these shows they just run and they usually go over and like sometimes there's a tiny little clock in the corner, but otherwise for some reason it's like some afterthought. For almost every show they just there's no countdown, there's no kind of gathering. I think that there was probably in Tokyo there's little pockets of people who gather to welcome the new year, but in general, people don't. There's no Times Square, that's for sure. There's nothing big like that. I think it's more geared toward having people stay home and there's no like real parties. There's instead people eat soba, eat the buckwheat noodles, um, and then watch TV.
Yeah, that's enjoyable and fun too.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
fascinating.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Um, well, I'm kind of curious. This is a little bit of a side note, but when you were talking earlier about recording the one show that you like to watch with Yuma and Silas.
Hmm.
You said DVR.
Hmm.
Like, what kind of device do you use for that? Because you're getting, is this from public television that you're recording the show, or is it like a
Yeah,
version of cable, or how does your DVR work?
yeah, it's actually my in-laws. We don't have one, so
Oh,
occasionally we call up my wife's dad and say,
oh,
this show's going to be on. Would you mind? We said to him, we said, you don't have to tape the whole thing, because five
okay.
hours is a lot of space. So we said,
Ah,
just around 9 or so, could you start the recording until the end of the show? And then,
oh, that's nice.
yeah. So the other nice thing is it's an excuse to make sure that we go over there, um,
Ah,
to watch it and spend time there too.
okay.
Mhm.
So is their device? Sorry, I'm getting hung
Yeah.
up on the technology here, but the signal from the public television goes into their device, and it's just like a
Hmm.
digital recording device. That's how it
Yeah.
works. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the I know. Well, I'm so into the streaming way of doing things now that I don't typically think of like live television and how what you do in
Uh-huh.
cases where I
Uh-huh.
remember for a time I forget what service it was. We subscribed to something so we could watch the Winter Olympics, or it was one of the Olympics,
Oh.
and
Hmm.
things would come on at certain times.
Oh
I
yeah.
felt like there was some DVR function that was built into the
Mm.
streaming service, like you could. But I
Hmm.
don't know. Does that make sense? Because if it's streaming, wouldn't they just save the stream? I don't know. Anyway, I'm fascinated with DVR because I never had cable growing up, so I never really had that option. I mean, I know you could try to record it on a VCR back in the day
Oh yeah,
with a
that's right.
VCR
Oh
tape,
yeah. Oh
but
man. I remember,
it's just
yeah.
kind of fascinating. But
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it seems to be a lot more popular here. I think probably because in general, people's schedules can be quite busy, and there's only about 8 um, TV channels, and so then I think sometimes like a lot of quality is on every day. So I think they kind of want us to think that there's something good on this channel, but I can't watch them both at the same time. So I'll tape one and then watch the other one and then watch
oh,
the taped
okay,
one later. Yeah. So yeah,
interesting.
we never got around to ever buying one, but my folks, my in-laws, theirs is it's a Blu-ray player that also has this hard
Oh,
disk in it.
nice,
Hmm.
nice.
Get over there later and see if anyone was able to be the champion this year.
Oh yeah. Is there any similarity between that show and the American Gladiator show that was on back in the like late 80s, early 90s?
Oh man, I love that show so much. I remember the times when I could stay up and watch that show was so cool. Oh man. Yeah. No. Yeah, when the people run the course, they don't have nitro shooting the tennis ball cannon at them, but
They had a documentary about the American Gladiators recently this
really.
past year. It was so
Oh,
good.
wow.
I was blown
Oh,
away.
man.
I think the documentary
Oh.
might have been more. I mean, the show itself was very, very entertaining, but the documentary was
Hmm.
extremely well done. Yeah.
Ah,
So
that's so neat.
if you get a
Oh,
chance sometime, it's on
oh
Netflix. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, because I was always amazed that like they were former professional athletes, and then here they are on this show. And yeah, and then I don't know if you are familiar with Mark Rober um on YouTube, but he is the one who does like he used to work for NASA, and he's very into education that's entertaining. And he has he has like a lab, like interactive place that he was able to construct, and it has a tennis ball cannon there, and he had nitro at that place, so the current nitro, like who must be in his 50s, and he lets him try this tennis ball cannon, and he still has it. Like is he can't escape. He's
That's
just
awesome.
dead on.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, and that's part of the interesting um, aspect of the documentary is just revisiting the story in light of where these athletes are now and hearing their reflections this many years later on what it was like.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, it's very fascinating.
Mhm.
and the hype that, at its height that it reached, it
Oh
was
yeah.
very, very popular. And they had
Yeah.
these events around the country where they would promote the show, and they would do live, kind of miniaturized versions of the, the full experience,
Oh
in the
wow.
show. So that
Very
they'd
cool.
set it up in
Wow.
a
Wow.
gym or a stadium. Um,
Mm.
but well, maybe shifting gears a little bit, I'm kind of wondering, as you think back over 2023, as we're about to enter 2024, were there some large or prominent or really important things that happen that you find noteworthy or worth mentioning that stand out from this past year?
Yeah, I was just looking through my email today, and then I noticed it dawned on me that sorry, this isn't the forum to bring this up, but it dawned on me that somehow I got dropped off of the prayer list for church. And
Oh no. Well, it's just to let you
I,
know, Barney, that the prayer list, it's no longer an email. We
okay.
just started putting the prayer concerns in the weekly update. And
Oh,
the
there
if
it
you
is.
scroll
Okay.
down, yes, so there isn't. So you everybody got, including
I'm
me,
still
got
getting
dropped off
them.
the
I
prayer
got
list.
dropped.
Yeah,
But
sorry
then
about that.
yeah, then I noticed like so I thought, well, what is this last one that I got? And I looked at the date and it was January 19. And it was interesting to see that prayer for my mom's health was still one of the requests on there. And yeah, so my mom's passing away was a real big event that happened, and um, it's been interesting seeing how all of us have worked through that, especially um, one of the other skipping a few events, but one of the other real big events was our trip to America, where to Ohio in the summer, where even my sister and her family were able to join there, and we were able to have like a final ceremony with my mom's ashes, and just kind of seeing. Then that was also I didn't realize I at all because things were happening so fast in February, but that was the first time for my wife to be at the house when my mom wasn't there, and I could see that it really had an impact on her too. Um, and that was real touching for me to see that over the years they met a few times, but not so many times. But my mom still had a big impact on my wife and her memories of her, and um, those were the two big events. But otherwise, Yuma, my oldest son started elementary school, and it's quite a change. And then my other son started kindergarten, the year one of three. So it's a real interesting change to see how school life is for them. And my wife started flying again as a flight attendant. And what was a little bit tricky, um, at the very beginning in April, that's when our kind of new year, our fiscal year and our school year starts. I really feel like the boys and I have gotten into a real good rhythm. And if sometimes my wife's flights are on the weekend, and then so that's really easy for us. We can fit everything in plus housework, but sometimes it's in the middle of the week, and I need to. My youngest son, he needs a school lunch every day, except Wednesday, and it's not. Just saying to another friend, it's not a sandwich and a cup of yogurt and an apple. You know, it's a rolled omelet, and it's some kind of meat, and it's some steamed vegetables, and it's some kind of either rice ball or some kind of other rice thing, and or chop finely cut up sandwiches. It's a lot of work, but I've been able to make that a part of a routine and still get myself to the train station to be at my job.
Wow.
And yeah,
That's
so
commendable. Well done, Barney.
yeah. So now I used to have a little bit of trepidation thinking, oh boy, oh no, it's my turn, with just me. How am I going to get everything worked out? And I think about to how we were in April, May, June, and then how we are now. it's nice to see, and I think Ayoko probably feels um, grateful and also relieved too that things go real smoothly when she's away, and she can have her career still, and know that the house isn't
Mm.
burning down, and that the clothes are getting washed. And so I think that that kind of summarizes the real big points, the real main points that we faced in our were kind of defining of 2023 for us. Um, I think like just like you mentioned at the beginning, Micah being home, so sending him off to school on the latter half of 2023 was probably one of your real big events. How about some other ones?
Yeah, that is definitely one of the bigger events. Katie and I celebrated our 20th anniversary in August. And so that was significant looking back on 20 years together and dreaming about potentially 20 more. You never know how many years you have, but just, it's fun to dream. That would be the hope and beyond. But we were able to take a trip to Scotland as part of that 20th anniversary celebration. And that was very meaningful. And I'm so glad we got to talk about that in one of our episodes.
Mhm.
Also, I was really thrilled to help Hannah learn to ride a bike. She was really working at it. And then finally, it was towards the end of summer, just as the school year was starting, it was just really lovely that she got that and it really enjoys it now. And then our middle child, Aubrey, started driving and working in 2023. So it was like a very significant year for our family, our children each hitting new milestones and um, a significant year marker for my relationship with Katie for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Um, and I hear you what you're saying about your mom, because that was also uh, a significant and meaningful experience for me too, to be with your family as you were in Ohio um, and for the memorial service. And there's something your brother said that was really striking, and I forget the exact wording he said, but basically the gist of it was we grieve because we love. Like grief is an expression of love. And um, just recently, I saw a clip on YouTube from a show that I'd seen several years ago called WandaVision. And in that show, the two main characters are talking about grief. And the one character, Vision, said something almost identical to your brother. He said,
Mhm.
"What is grief if not but love persisting?" And I thought, oh,
Mm.
that's really fascinating. Like in the loss, there is that deep sense of love, and it is persisting, and that's why you feel it. Kind of you feel the grief, but I think as you go through the journey, um, I don't know. I guess it's different for each person, but I think particularly as you're coming maybe towards the end of a grieving process, I think you are left with the sense of gratitude for the love and the positive memories. And um, like my one friend, Joe, who I've talked about before
Mhm.
in this
Mhm.
podcast, he recently lost his father, and his mom was talking with me the other day and just saying how she had read a poem that talked about when you grieve, you kind of feel lost, like the person's no longer there, and you're struggling. And then as you go through the journey of grief, you come back to yourself and you find the person's presence there with you when you come back. And I thought, oh, that's a really interesting take on it too. So I know we talked about all of this or a lot of these themes in our journey with grief in our episode on
Mhm.
grief, but I kind of wondered, um, like, and maybe it's hard to answer now because this is still the first year, but have you had any glimpses of that sense of like that love is intertwined or at present in your heart as you go through this journey, and that kind of, I don't know, um, supports you or helps you, like the positive that love you feel for your mom helps you as you grieve? Or
Yeah. As I think back to that episode that we did, and hearing some of the things that you talked about, your perspective and Sean's too, then and being able to have some time and have some space and kind of give myself some space to just kind of let things sit and simmer and 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 kind of grow on their own. I noticed that I was feeling or experiencing kind of a lot of the similar notions or experiences that you both mentioned, and um, more than anything, a real comforting peace and I want to say like a distance from from the grief, but or from maybe from probably the first stage, the initial stage of the grieving ness, and now to a way where an area where, especially in light of what I how I just heard you explain it, where I'm thinking maybe there's like a new word that we need for this part where because yeah, I still think that it's in part of the grieving process, but when we hear the word grief, it just instinctively we have a negative connotation with it. But just like you said, there's the process as we work through it further and further, where there's a lot of positive um, that we have there, and especially a lot of it when love once again, um, you know, kind of I don't want to say bursts its way through, but becomes more a part of who you are, and the sadness is less, then there's something there where you still think it's feels like it's just different. It's not necessarily being nostalgic or have reflective or having nice memories about that person. It still feels something that's very, very part of the process related to grieving, but so reassuring and peaceful and comfortable and in a way. And I think that's really almost like the sadness is now enveloped with, an outer coating of cushion of love in a way that transforms it into something new that you're in a way glad that you could go through. Um, and gives you a whole different perspective on what you went through, at the very beginning of the process.
I like how you talked about that, Barney, and to think about like sometimes our language, we have a common way of naming something or labeling something, but to sometimes admit that it really doesn't fully describe or capture the deeper meaning of or sense of something, and it can be inadequate, and that's true. I think the grieving process, it does at some point become something else, and we have, it's interesting to think about what could we name that. Yeah, I like that question. Well, as you think ahead to entering 2024 and kind of moving from like looking back to now looking forward, are there some things that you're hoping for or expecting or looking forward to that might come in 2024?
Yeah. One thing is I'm thinking about the other podcasts I do with Sean. I think we've done two New Year's episodes, and in each episode I say to him that I'm going to learn how to play the ukulele, and I have started. So I'm well on my way, and I'm doing a very good job these days because I'm practicing um, most nights. And yeah, I'm almost have do re mi down from Sound of Music, and
Nice.
yeah, and yeah, it's coming along. I'm excited about that, and otherwise looking forward to what 2024 brings. It's hard to say that if there's any kind of big events that are happening. I think that I was mentioning to a friend that a lot of our days are a lot of our life, our everyday life, our routine is focused on the kids. And I think just seeing them finish this school year and start a new school year in March and then April, I think it'll be interesting to see those changes. And in Yuma's case, in our area of Japan, I think our region probably, kids don't, elementary school kids don't have a school bus option, and they walk to school. Some kids walk actually 40 minutes to school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, usually in a group, and that's the case for us too. Yuma only has probably like 15 minutes or less. Um, and there's 11 kids, and they have to meet together, and they have to wear special hats. They wear yellow hats, first graders do, to be more visible. And um but we always like in the background, like not too far from our meeting area, are where like the second graders are, because we have like there are two possible routes that kids can take to the school, but first grade and second grade have to take the same route. But the second graders, they're too cool. They don't want to be, they want to go at the same time as first graders, so they're yes, off to the distance, like standing like this, like just chatting together. Their moms aren't around or anything like that. And the first graders are gathering, and the moms or the dads or both are there. And everybody okay? Is everybody here? Okay, are we ready to go? And then let's walk at least part of the way with them, to make sure they make it across the stoplight okay. And then so next year, Yuma will get to be, that second grader, and it'll make things a little bit easier for us too, because we won't have to. That we can, like extend the leash just that much more for him, and two people in our neighborhood who are they're twins actually, who will start um elementary school next year. They're good friends of ours, so we're excited to kind of welcome them in to the same elementary school. So yeah, I think those kind of things, what will happen for the kids in school, is something to look forward to. Probably for me, and probably my wife too.
That's really nice. I like that. I think there's similar things for us too, just a continual progression um, for our kids through their schooling. Aubrey will be a senior in 2024,
Hmm.
which is huge. And um, Micah will be in his sophomore year of college, and Hannah will go up then to fourth grade, which will
Hmm.
be really big. And Katie, who's in a counseling program through the University of Akron, will be that much further along. So I'm
Oh
happy
yeah.
for each person in our family as they progress for sure. And I think on a personal level, I've really enjoyed learning, um, doing certain things in 2023 that I want to continue in 2024 and go deeper with. I've been rekindling my interest in Greek and Hebrew with
Mm.
somebody who lives in the area,
Hmm.
who his name's Cody. Maybe hopefully someday you'll get to meet him.
Oh yeah.
So I'm hoping to do more of that in 2024. I've been going back to Duolingo and working on Japanese again because um, I really do want to learn more and grow in that area. And so, and hopefully in the future, visit again. I'm
Hmm.
hoping it most likely wouldn't be in 2024, but maybe in 2025. So we'll see. Hoping. Although friends of our family, and I think you know them, Jen and
Oh yeah.
Kyle Kinbaum and their son Cole are thinking of really seriously thinking of taking a trip to Japan, which is really cool. So and
Hmm.
exciting. And I think maybe their daughter Lily would go as well. So that's something that could happen. So I would be happy for them. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I'm grateful to be entering 2024. It's looking forward to the new year. So
Oh yeah.
yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to mention before we close our time together?
Yeah, it was fun thinking about where the episode started today and how it went along, and then now as we're bringing the episode to a close, and also it'll be the last episode for 2023. So bringing the year to a close too. So thank you to everyone who has listened along over these past, I don't know, probably 40 or so episodes that we got done this year.
Yeah, and I also want to thank our listeners. It means so much to us that you would take time to enter into our conversation, and also for our viewers on YouTube. We really appreciate you, and this means so much for me, and I believe also for Barney to be able to do this podcast regularly. We really enjoy exploring so many different topics and just continuing to also build our friendship through this podcast. So we're grateful for you, and have a wonderful start to 2024. Happy New Year.